we talked about AJ Green possibly getting traded a few weeks ago, where on the sidelines we were trying to do some lip reading. But this past week, Fast John Ross said, "Trade me." So he was one of the first guys to request a trade. So do you think he goes somewhere before the deadline, or
I think so. I think that somebody will give him like a seventh round pick or something to see what they have in him.
yeah,
I mean, he has blazing fast speed, and if anything, he could literally be a guy just to run streaks for you, and that's it. And if you have to give up a seventh round pick, which is typically when you pick those type of return specialists and those very special skill players anyway, because it's like you want to take a flyer on him. Like he's got this talent, let's see what we can do with him. So he
hmm
kind of, even though he's a former first round pick, it didn't really develop into the receiver that they wanted him to be. Right now, you know what he is. You know he's blazing fast, and you can like think about if Bill Belichick got a hold of him, right?
yeah,
He would make him do what he needs to do, right? He would let him run streaks and fly routes, just freaking tire out the defensive back if that's
yeah,
the only thing you do, and then we we keep you while we gave up as a seventh round pick. We'll call it a day. Maybe he even develops into the receiver he was supposed to be. But I think somebody takes a shot at him. I don't know why he hasn't been able to crack the lineup at all with the Bengals. Maybe he is as bad as the Bengals think he is, which I don't know. Who knows? But he at least has something that is intriguing for teams to take a flyer on him, and I think somebody will give like a late round pick to him.
yeah. His situation in Cincinnati has been really weird. His first year, I think, like all I remember is he ran an end around and he fumbled it, and then he just never played again.
Yeah.
And then I was actually watching Flemlo Rap's video where he was talking about John Ross. And in 2018, I think he had like 7 touchdowns, and six of them were in the red zone, which is really weird when you consider his skill set. Like you think of him as a big play guy, not
Hmm.
a red zone target. So it's very unusual to see him be like that successful in the red zone. And then last year, I mean, all I remember was it last year where he had that touchdown on. I want to say it was on Vontae Davis, but maybe that was preseason, where he just like completely cooked them.
Yeah, that was preseason against the
Oh, okay.
Bills. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, last year I don't know if he got hurt or whatever, but I feel like he didn't play most of the year either. So for a top 10 pick, that's it's unusual to see that production in the red zone, but you definitely expected more out of him. Kind of reminds me of when Miami drafted Ted Ginn and didn't really get the production they wanted out of him either.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like you said, I hate that it always comes up to every possible free agent or trade goes to New England, but
I know, right?
that's what it seems like.
Because you feel like they just take those players that other people can't make it work with,
Yeah,
and you know, and they do it. And the Saints are kind of the same way too. To be honest, think like a player like Ted Ginn, who didn't work out, right? But they're like, all right, this guy has blazing fast speed. He's never going to be crushing you with his route running. He's never going to be running these long developing or these like double move routes. Let's get this guy in a fucking post and a streak
yeah,
and throw it out there to him because he's probably going to smoke the corner. So, and they made it work with him. He wasn't, they didn't treat him like he was a first round pick and, hey, be our number one guy. They treated him for what he was. And I think that's what Belichick and the Patriots always do is we're not going to make you what you're not. We're going to just emphasize whatever skills you already have and use you until we can't use you anymore. So I think that's why everybody always gets pinned to go to the Patriots is because they always find those guys other teams can't work with, and they make it work. So we'll see, but I definitely think he definitely goes somewhere before the deadline.
yeah. I think so too. I mean, especially if he's coming out and saying I'm unhappy here. Is this the last year of his contract? I'm assuming so.
That I don't know. It could be. If that's the case, then
Uh,
somebody might not trade for him just because they'll just wait while
yeah,
he's not
I
getting
think
hit or anything. But who
the
knows?
Bengals declined his 5th-year option, making him a free agent in 2021.
So that could play a factor. But again, if
Yeah,
it's a late round pick, then I could see somebody just being like, "Fuck it."
yeah, someone that's kind of that speed receiver away.
Yeah.
So I think the first guy that actually came out with a trade request was David Njoku in Cleveland, and it's it's starting to seem like Cleveland's almost falling apart. I mean, I guess do you see him leaving, and do you see other receivers kind of unhappy there too? Because Cleveland's starting to take an identity as a running team. Baker Mayfield's really not living up to that first season hype and first overall hype that everybody was expecting him to. I guess you can touch on David Njoku, but I think the bigger picture here is, do you see Odell Beckham wanting out too, especially seeing his antics after the last game?
Uh, the Cleveland Browns are incredibly interesting, especially because they got a new coach, who obviously wants to envision the team the way he wants to envision the team. It's really tough to kind of paint a picture on what's going on over there. Sometimes I think it's just media hype, and they're just speculating that everyone's fucking getting traded. Odell's got his shoes off; he's unhappy.
Yeah,
Njoku is, not getting the ball enough, or I don't know what the case is, but I think it all comes down to that head coach and who he envisions on his team. If he never thought Odell Beckham should be, on the team, or if he never thought, the tight end should be there, that he's gonna deal him and get something out of him. And
hmm,
especially when a player shows his displeasure and he's just like, I want out, then you're almost kind of, your hand is almost forced, because it's not like in the back burner, you're working on a trade, you can get the highest possible pick or player. When a player comes out and says, yo, I'm done with this team, it all will almost always lowers his value unless it's like an all pro. Like when Jacksonville got rid of Jalen Ramsey and he said, I'm
yeah,
out, I'm done, I want to trade. They got good compensation for him because of the player he was. But someone like David Njoku, who's a starting tight end, but he's not an all pro by any means, it kind of
right,
lowers his value because they're like, well, he wants out anyway. I'm not going to give up this pick. Then that
yeah.
also then sways the Cleveland Browns to be like, fuck it, we'll keep him. I don't care how unhappy he is, but we're not going to trade him for nothing. But I really don't know. I feel like the Cleveland Browns are such a I can't really figure them out and what that coach wants for that team.
Yeah, I mean, he this is his first year, so David Njoku was already on the team before he came around, and Beckham was already there, and Landry. Although I don't see Landry leaving. Um, yeah, I mean, rumors are coming out being like Beckham's in the prime of his career, and he's playing for a failing team essentially,
Hmm.
and he's not putting up the numbers that he did when he was with the Giants, or at least at the beginning of his career. So I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for a trade, to go to a team that's, a potential contender. But at the same time, like, if everybody did that, I don't know. Like, you look at other, like, star receivers like Larry Fitzgerald, like, regardless of how shitty Arizona was, he never requested a trade to be like, oh, I'm in the prime of my career, and, I have a chance to go wherever I want to because any team will trade for me. Even like Julio Jones, like, there's stories coming out that Atlanta might trade him, but that would be the dumbest thing they could do, and I'm sure he doesn't want out of Atlanta either. So I don't know. It's weird. Maybe because this is Beckham's second team, like he already got out of New York, and it's almost like he's not tied down to any team. It's just weird to, I don't know, for a receiver just to kind of LeBron it and be like, I'm unhappy with what you got here. I want to go to a team that can win.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I feel like maybe it's just my memory is skewed, but I feel like back in the day, no one used to just trade requests unless some shit really went down. No one was just like, this team sucks. Let me get out of here. I'm better than this team. Like you said, guys like Larry Fitzgerald and, you know, players like that who just stuck it out no matter what. And it's a tough call to make because you're like, you want the players to look out for themselves to be like, they're busting their fucking heads every day. Let them make a decision on if it's worth it for them to be on this team or not. But then you're also like, not everybody gets that luxury. You can't just be like, yeah, get me the hell out of here, and then they make a trade. Everybody just be trading each other
Yeah.
around the league, and no one's has a team to, you know what I mean. So it's a really tough situation because you want the player to get what's best for them. You want to be on the player side because the NFL is a business, and the Cardinals could have literally dumped Larry Fitzgerald to the side and not paid him any money and just cut him, regardless of everything he's done for them. So I think that's the hard part where you're like, yeah, Odell, go ahead, trade him. Like he's unhappy. He definitely deserves a good team. Everybody deserves a good team, but that's just not the state of football. It's just that you're always going to be on a bad team. There's always only one winner in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes you're like, quit being a baby, but sometimes you're like, dude, I'm not the one getting my head snapped every week. So I can definitely understand why he wants out.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying where, the players got to look out for themselves, but it's almost like players are trying to form these super teams in the NFL by just picking like, I don't know, four or five teams that every player seems to want to go to. And then you just, stuck with all these not shitty players, but all these like non-superstars on, average teams that um, I don't know. I feel like these players could help them out. Now, in Cleveland, like you said, it's a weird situation where, uh, Beckham's not being used to his full potential, and they're not really a passing team, or at least not taking on the identity of a passing team. So you want what's best for Beckham, but at the same time, you also don't want to create these super teams where these superstar players, the teams that are just full of superstar players, and other teams that are just got like average dudes on there.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really weird. Like, I just feel like back in the day, I don't remember this many like as trade requests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys in Cleveland is dealt, but I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed either. So I think it's a toss up for those guys.
Yeah. Thank you for listening in to this clip of the Moose Bros podcast. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment below, and subscribe to this channel to see more clips just like this one. If you want to listen to the whole podcast, you can find us at Spotify or Apple Podcasts under Moose Bros Sports.